Hold on tight, because what you're about to hear isn't just advice, it's a life-altering bombshell. A bombshell that will tear through your old mindset and launch you into a whole new universe. This is a game changer, not just for how you think, speak, and act, but for how you claim your future. Most people will never understand this until it's too late. Your life bends to your assumptions. The way you expect things to unfold is the way they will, not because of fate, but because your mind, your focus, your thoughts are pulling everything around you into alignment. They shape your actions, your words, your moves, and whether you crush it or collapse. Now, imagine for a second, what if you assumed that everything, no matter how chaotic or uncertain, was working out for you? What if, even when the world looks silent, when failure is staring you in the face, when nothing seems to be moving? What if you lived like success was already locked in, like the door was already wide open, and all you had to do was walk through it? This isn't wishful thinking, this is mind-bending mental engineering. This is how the titans of history broke through the noise, failure, and fear to create legendary success. Let's talk about Henry Ford. He didn't waste time hoping or waiting for the stars to align. He decided they would. He saw the car when no one else could, and while the world laughed, he built factories. And Edison? Did he stop after 100 failures? Or 10,000? Hell no. He pushed through, because he knew success was inevitable. He didn't need the world's approval, he was creating success in his mind every damn day. Look at Charles Schwab. This man didn't act out of fear, he was driven by raw, unshakable faith in his vision. His belief was so contagious it built an empire. His faith in himself? It lit a fire in others and made them believe, too. And Andrew Carnegie? He didn't even ask, what if this doesn't work? He moved as if victory was already locked in. That is the kind of energy that builds legacies. So, why the hell not you? Why not now? Why not this moment? You've wasted too much time doubting, overthinking, and playing small. It's time to flip that script, because the version of you that hesitates, that doubts, that shrinks when things get hard, he can't live in the same world as the version of you who moves with pure, unapologetic certainty. One version must go. So ask yourself, right now, are you ready to rise, or are you still holding on to that fear? You already know what you need to do. Let's go. Today, I'm giving you a new lens to see the world, a new way to set your standards. Start acting as if everything always works out, not because it's guaranteed, but because it makes you unstoppable. When you believe that success is inevitable, you act with courage, you speak with confidence, and you take charge of your life instead of negotiating with it. This video is your reset, your new program, and you need to repeat it, daily, until your subconscious takes this certainty as law. Until doubt fades and fear can't survive where faith thrives. When you start living as if the outcome is secured, fear disappears. So listen carefully. Speak these truths out loud. Let them fuel you, because what we are about to do is not just about motivation, it's about reprogramming your mind. By the end of this hour, you will think differently, you will move differently, and you will be different. Let's begin with a question that can completely change your life. What if it all works out? Not just the easy stuff, but all of it. The setbacks, the delays, the pain, the silence, the detours, the moments that made no sense. What if all of that, every piece of the struggle, is actually shaping the version of you that's needed for the dream you've been asking for? Most people don't live in that reality. They live in worry. They wake up expecting failure. They talk about the worst that could happen. They wait for betrayal. They expect the worst even when things are improving. And because they expect it, their energy is focused on fear, not on what they want. But there's another way to live, a way that doesn't require hype, that doesn't demand perfection, but simply asks one thing: to believe before you see. Because here's the truth, belief isn't a reaction. It's a choice. And that choice shapes your mind. The subconscious doesn't argue with you, It accepts whatever you give it and starts to build around that assumption. If you say, "Things never work out for me," your subconscious says, "Got it," and starts filtering the world through that lens. That's what you'll notice, that's what you'll expect, and that's what you'll attract, not by magic, but because you've stopped looking for anything else. Now, picture the opposite. Imagine waking up every day, no matter the situation, with this quiet certainty running through your mind: everything is working out for me. Even if you're struggling, even if you've been hurt, even if the way forward isn't clear yet, you move as if it's all happening. You act like the doors are already opening. You keep building like the foundation is already set. That belief, practiced daily, will completely change your life. When you believe everything is working in your favor, you become more composed under pressure. You become more patient while you wait. You move with strength, even when the evidence isn't visible yet. This isn't delusion, this is self-leadership. Thomas Edison once said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." That's not just perseverance. That's a man who assumed the light bulb was his, it was just a matter of time. He didn't ask, "What if this never works?" He asked, "What else can I try? Because I know it's coming." That mindset is the difference between the person who quits after a few setbacks and the one who becomes a legend. Henry Ford didn't let investors laughing at his idea stop him. He didn't shrink in fear. He kept moving forward like the world was wrong, and his vision was already done. And that's not arrogance. That's acting like it's working, even when you can't see it yet. The weak wait for proof. The strong act as if the proof is already here. This mindset removes the need for validation. It replaces panic with confidence and creates a new belief system: the outcome is certain. You just haven't reached it yet. So, let me ask you again, what if it all works out? What if the delay was part of the plan? What if the betrayal was meant to protect you? What if the confusion was actually preparing you for something bigger? What if the so-called setback is the very detour that will lead you to the person you need to be? Once you adopt this mindset, once it becomes your default, you stop fearing the unknown. Instead, you embrace it because the unknown isn't the enemy, it's proof that something bigger is being created. Your only job is to keep going, to build when it's boring, to lead when no one is cheering, to act like the outcome is already certain, even if the scoreboard says you're losing. The scoreboard doesn't measure your spirit. It doesn't track your faith. It can't see what's happening behind the scenes. Only you can see that. Only you know how deep this decision is. So, say it to yourself right now: I live as if everything is working for me. I don't panic. I prepare. I don't beg for signs. I build in silence. And I will not give up because I've already decided the ending. This isn't just about mindset. This is mental strength. It's the choice to walk through the chaos with order in your mind, because once you know how the story ends, you don't need to worry about the middle. Act as if everything works out, and soon it will, because what the mind accepts, the world begins to reflect. There's one key trait that separates the drifter from the builder, the lost from the locked in, the one who watches life happen from the one who shapes it. That trait is definiteness of purpose, a clear, unwavering aim. A goal burned so deeply into your mind that nothing can shake it, not even failure, not even doubt. This is not some vague dream, a list of goals, or a wish you write down and forget. This is purpose written in fire, carried with discipline, and protected by your life. Without purpose, your energy scatters. Distraction steals your time. Your focus is hijacked by the next shiny thing. You chase many paths but never master one. You make half-built progress and then walk away. You confuse activity for achievement. But when you have definiteness of purpose, your path becomes clear. Your vision sharpens. You stop waking up unsure of what the day will bring and start commanding the day to deliver what you've already decided. That's power. That's transformation. Look at every man who made history, and you'll find a purpose behind their every step. Henry Ford didn't want to just be rich. He set out to revolutionize transportation, and his focus was so sharp, the world had no choice but to follow. Charles Schwab didn't dabble, he knew exactly what he was meant to build, and others followed his lead. Abraham Lincoln didn't drift into greatness, his decision was so clear, not even a divided nation could stop it. That's what you need now, a final decision. A line in the sand. A commitment so strong that your mind revolves around it every day. So, let me ask you, do you know your purpose? Do you know, without a doubt, what you're here to do? If you don't, no strategy, no system, no video can help you. Without purpose, your progress will always be short-lived. Your habits will fall apart when things get tough because the one thing that keeps you going is your why, your purpose. Write it down. One sentence, not 10. What must you create before your time is done? Who must you become? What result does your life demand, not because it's easy, but because you've decided it matters more than anything else? That's your purpose. Once you have it, read it aloud every morning. Write it down every night. Don't wait for inspiration, practice it until it replaces every other thought. This is the foundation of all confidence, waking up knowing where you're going. You don't compare. You don't scroll. You don't hesitate because your path is already set. Every action you take, the food you eat, the books you read, the habits you create, the words you speak, the risks you take, will all move toward one thing, your definite purpose. And that gives you immunity against distractions. You no longer envy other men's paths because you are locked into your own. You no longer fear failure because you know it is part of the construction. You no longer need approval because your purpose gives you authority. And from that place, the decisions become easy. Clarity becomes your compass. Time bends in your favor because the universe, your mind, and every atom of your being begins to conspire around one thing, completion of the mission. But without that purpose, even the best habits will drift. Even the strongest man will fall. Even the most brilliant mind will chase things that don't matter. So write the sentence. Etch it into your soul. And this is not for someday. This is not for when life calms down. This is the day you stop living like a leaf in the wind and start moving like a builder with orders from within. Say it now, I know my purpose, and I follow it without apology. I no longer wait for clarity. I generate it. My energy is sacred, and my direction is locked in. This is how empires begin, not with noise, but with one decision burned so deeply into a man's spirit that even time itself bows in his direction. And if you haven't made that decision yet, make it now because the clock is still running, but your focus hasn't been. And you've got work to do. You've got power to build, and none of it will happen without purpose. Faith is not something you wait for. It is not a gift that descends from the sky. It is not the result of hope or circumstance. Faith is something you build. It is constructed the same way a building is constructed, brick by brick, act by act, thought by thought, until you stand in the middle of something so strong, so stable, that even your doubts must bow before it. Let me tell you a truth most men will never understand: faith is not emotion. It is repetition. It is the byproduct of consistent, disciplined belief spoken aloud, written down, acted upon until your subconscious accepts it as fact. You don't find faith. You forge it. You train it. You rehearse it until it no longer requires evidence because it becomes the evidence. And here's the key: the mind doesn't believe what is true. It believes what is repeated. That is why so many men believe in failure, because they've rehearsed it. They've spoken doubt daily. They've imagined disaster over and over. They've aligned their actions with fear and then wondered why faith hasn't arrived. Let me be clear: you cannot rehearse weakness and expect strength to show up. You cannot marinate in hesitation and expect certainty to grow. Faith, like muscle, is earned through resistance. It is built by applying pressure to your comfort, and every time you follow through, especially when it's hard, you earn more of it. That is why autosuggestion is not a game. It is the gateway. It is the act of deliberately feeding the mind the identity you have chosen, not the one you were given, not the one they labeled you with, but the one you designed. That's why I don't tell you to casually watch a video and hope it changes you. I tell you to repeat it, to study it, to speak it back, because when you do, when you make those words louder than the doubt, something extraordinary happens. You start to believe yourself. That is the root of all personal power, to know that when you speak, your subconscious listens. So you begin each day with command, not confusion. You wake up and speak the script of the man you are becoming, not just because it sounds good, but because you know it is writing new grooves in your mind. And those grooves will become the path your feet walk. Thomas Edison did not succeed because he felt inspired. He succeeded because his faith in the outcome was greater than any single failure. 10,000 times he tried. 10,000 times he found a way that didn't work, but he never called them failures because his faith was anchored. He had already seen the light before the world did. And every act of effort, every moment of fatigue, every time he reset his tools and started again was another layer of belief. John D. Rockefeller didn't rise by luck. He trained his thinking like a man trains for war. He believed in systems, in structure, in certainty, and that certainty came not from chaos, but from mental rehearsal. He built wealth in his mind before he ever built it in the world. You must do the same. And you must see yourself follow through. You must imagine yourself moving with power. You must speak to yourself like a general giving orders to a loyal army, with calm, with clarity, with conviction, because your subconscious mind is listening. It is always listening. And every word you whisper, every phrase you repeat, is either building faith or breaking it. So let me ask you. Are you speaking power or poison? Are you reinforcing courage or conditioning cowardice? Are you using your words to lift yourself or lower yourself? Because what you repeat becomes real. Faith is not loud. It is not flashy. It does not beg for attention. Faith is silent, grounded, steady. It is built in the dark. It is built when you show up despite your feelings. It is built when you say, "I will," and follow through without applause. It is built when no one is looking, and you move anyway. That's how Abraham Lincoln led a nation through fire. He wasn't the most popular. He wasn't the loudest. But he believed in the vision so deeply, so completely, that no critic could shake it loose. And when faith becomes unshakable, action becomes automatic. You no longer try to rise. You do. You no longer wonder if you're ready. You move. And your results begin to multiply, not by chance, but by design. So here's your instruction: write your chief aim. Read it aloud every morning and every night, and with emotion, with certainty, with fire. Visualize the outcome. And not once, but daily, speak your identity, not as a wish, but as a fact: I am focused. I am disciplined. I act with purpose. I do not flinch. This is not theory. This is practice. And when you practice it long enough, the man you used to be, the man of doubt, of fear, of hesitation, he fades into dust. And the man of faith rises. Not someday, today. There comes a moment in every man's life where he must make a decision so final, so absolute, that there is no path left to retreat. That moment is not about emotion. It's not about confidence. It's about commitment. Burning the bridge means this: you remove all exits, all fallback plans, all quiet excuses that whisper, "If this doesn't work, I can always go back." No, you can't. Not anymore. Because that man is gone. Let me tell you something that every titan of history has known. You do not truly transform until you remove the option of staying the same. You cannot build a new life while clinging to your old one. You cannot become someone new and still hold space for the person you used to be. You cannot win with your eyes halfway on the rearview mirror. Charles M. Schwab didn't become the president of Carnegie Steel by playing it safe. He wasn't the smartest man in the room. He was the most decided. He carried himself like a leader before the world saw it. He aligned his speech, his tone, his energy with his desired position. And in doing so, he closed the door to mediocrity. When he walked into the room felt it. You want that kind of presence. You must decide so fully, so violently, that your past self is stunned into silence. This is what it means to burn the bridge. It's not symbolic. It's strategic. When you remove the option to quit, when you make it so there is no going back, you activate a part of your mind that most men never touch. It's the part that must win because it has no choice. Andrew Carnegie demanded this from his men. He didn't want those who were interested in success. He wanted men with one obsession, men who burned the bridge to every other pursuit. He understood this truth: a divided mind is a defeated mind. And so must you. You cannot serve two identities. The man you've been and the man you are becoming, one of them has to die. That means you must remove everything that gives the old you oxygen. Every distraction, every excuse, every person who keeps you small. You say you want to rise? Good. Then it's time to remove the staircase back down. You say you want to become unrecognizable? Then stop keeping souvenirs from your past self. That means you delete the contacts that drain your focus. You clear your space of things that reinforce the old habits. You stop visiting the mental corners where doubt still lives. You destroy the comfort you use to retreat to because comfort is a liar. It says you're fine where you are, but greatness never lives there. Greatness begins the moment you close the back door and walk forward with fire. That's what Henry Ford did when he bet everything on the assembly line. He didn't ask for permission. He didn't try to convince the skeptics. He decided, and in that decision, he removed failure as an option. People laughed. He didn't, because a man who has burned the bridge does not have time to entertain doubt. He is too busy executing. Now, listen to me carefully. You will be tempted more than once to look back. You will think about how easy it was to be lazy, to scroll, to sleep in, to live without pressure. And that voice will sound reasonable. It will offer balance. It will tell you it's okay, just this once. That voice is the final ghost of the old identity. Kill it. Do not entertain it. Do not respond to it. Do not explain yourself to it. Replace it every time it whispers. You speak louder, I said 90, not 9. I act from decision, not from feeling. I move because I chose this path, not because it's easy, but because it's mine. Do you understand what that does? It hardens your will. It trains your subconscious to believe that your word is law. That your actions are not suggestions, they are commands. This is where the edge is formed because now you don't need emotion to move. You don't need motivation. You move because the bridge is gone. You move because the man you used to be has no shelter left. You move because the only direction is forward. Thomas Edison didn't hope for a breakthrough. He decided there would be one, and he worked like a man with no alternative. 10,000 failures, and not once did he consider going back. Why? Because he had no bridge to return to. You must adopt the same mindset. Burn the plan B, eliminate the what-ifs. Live as if this is the only shot because it is. The clock doesn't pause. The world doesn't wait. And neither should you. You've danced with discipline long enough. You've flirted with greatness long enough. Now is the time to commit fully to your mission, without hesitation, without doubt. Because once the bridge is burned and the fire is at your back, there's no turning back. Only forward. Only execution. Only growth. Let today be the day everything changes. Let today be your point of no return. No one rises alone. No one gains power by staying isolated. Discipline is forged in solitude, but growth comes from alignment. There is a force stronger than willpower, more potent than skill or ambition. It is the power of the mastermind, and it begins with this truth: you become like the minds you surround yourself with. Your thoughts are shaped by your circle. Your energy is influenced by your environment. Your identity is forged by the people you keep close. You may think you're strong enough to carry your mission alone, but look around you. Truly look. Who do you spend your time with? Who shapes your vision? Who do you talk to most? Because those voices are either building you up or tearing you down. A mastermind isn't just a group of people. It's a mental alliance, minds with a shared purpose to elevate, to create, to sharpen, not soften. You need to seek this group out, or build it yourself. This means connecting with those who speak clearly, who act with purpose, who understand the value of silence, who live the mission without needing reminders. When you connect your mind with others who share the same fire, something magical happens. You become faster, stronger, more focused. You multiply your energy. You condense timelines. You unlock insights you wouldn't have seen on your own because a mastermind brings new perspectives. This isn't theory. This is how the greatest minds in history worked. Henry Ford didn't build his empire in isolation. He surrounded himself with thinkers, engineers, and men of unshakable belief. They didn't always agree, but they aligned. They pushed each other. They held each other to higher standards. Thomas Edison had a network of collaboration, not noise. Ideas passed between minds, each one sharpened by shared obsession. Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men ever to live, credited his success not to luck or money, but to the power of the mastermind, many minds united in purpose. Charles M. Schwab sought alignment with the highest vision, and his environment reflected that every day. A mastermind doesn't happen by chance. It's formed carefully, intentionally. But here's the truth: not everyone around you qualifies. A mastermind does not include people who speak with doubt, who gossip, who chase comfort, who mock discipline, who wait for permission to act. You need to remove these people from your life because a single weak mind can dilute the fire you're building. Protecting your energy is not arrogance, it's strategy. If someone doesn't feed your vision, they drain it. If they don't mirror your commitment, they distract you from it. If they can't see the future you're building, they don't belong in it. Here's a rule: if you wouldn't trade places with their life, don't take advice from their voice. You're not obligated to carry the weight of others' confusion. You're here to create something better, clearer, sharper. So what do? You form your mastermind by choice. Start with one aligned mind, one voice that sharpens you. One person who speaks clarity, not chaos. Then another, and another, until your circle becomes a system, a support so tight, so aligned, that failure becomes nearly impossible. Meet regularly. Speak with purpose. Share your goals. Hold each other accountable. Eliminate soft language. Replace, maybe someday, with declarations. Replace hesitation with action. And if you can't find your circle yet, be the standard. Speak with authority. Move with conviction. Others will feel it and rise to meet you, or fall away. Don't chase approval. Don't try to convert those who are committed to drifting. Just build. Just move. Just live aligned. And those meant to walk with you will find their way. This isn't about community for comfort. It's about alignment for power. When a sharp mind joins with another of equal fire, the laws of success begin to bend. The path becomes clearer. Results come faster. The noise quiets down. This is the hidden power of the mastermind, the power to multiply your mission. So make your decision now: who do you need to align with? Who do you need to release? Who do you need to become to attract the minds you want around you? Then begin. One aligned conversation can change your life. And one weak one can drain it. Choose wisely. Before the action, before the success, before the momentum, there must be belief. No man accomplishes greatness without first seeing it in his mind. You must believe long before the world gives you permission, long before the applause, long before the evidence shows up. The true test is, can you act as if it's already real while it's still invisible? This is what separates the few who rise from the many who quit. Understand this, faith is not a luxury. It's not an optional mindset for the hopeful. Faith is a requirement. It's the foundation. It's the beginning of transformation. You may think you need clarity to start. You don't. You may think you need resources, motivation, or support. You don't. What you need is a decision backed by belief, belief that moves you forward, that drives you to take action even when you don't feel ready. Abraham Lincoln didn't know how the war would end. He didn't have certainty in his strategy, but he had faith in principle, faith that freedom must win, no matter the cost. Henry Ford didn't have a roadmap, a market, or approval. But he believed so deeply in his vision that the world eventually bent to his certainty. Rockefeller built empires before the infrastructure existed. Why? Because in his mind, it was already done. Edison, Carnegie, Schwab, none of them waited for evidence before they believed. They created the evidence by acting before it appeared. That's what faith does. It precedes results. But fear does the opposite. Fear says, I'll wait for proof. Faith says, I'll move and make the proof appear. Which voice do you listen to? Fear waits. Fear doubts. Fear calculates every risk and forgets every reward. Faith builds. Faith moves. Faith believes and acts anyway. And if you think this is just positive thinking, you misunderstand the laws of your mind. Your subconscious doesn't respond to what's true. It responds to what's repeated, what's felt, what's believed. If you repeat fear, your life becomes a pattern of protection. If you repeat belief, your life becomes a pattern of creation. That's why autosuggestion is so important. Don't just hear the words, speak them. Feel them. Emotionalize them into your subconscious until they become part of your identity. Don't just say, I believe. Say, I act with faith. I don't wait to feel ready. I know who I am becoming, and I move accordingly. This is how belief becomes your new identity. Every day, speak your vision. Every day, move as if it's done. Every day, refuse to let fear make your decisions. This is where most men fail. They think belief is just a mindset. But belief is motion. If you want to believe, act like you believe, because action reinforces belief. Each time you follow through without evidence, each time you show up when it's hard, each time you keep your word in private, you build a new identity, one that says, I don't need proof. I am the proof. Here's a law: belief precedes performance. You'll never outperform the image you have of yourself. So the question isn't, can I do it? The question is, what am I rehearsing? What am I telling myself in silence? What identity am I building or avoiding out of fear? The world doesn't respond to potential. It responds to certainty. Certainty in your voice. Certainty in your actions. Certainty in your presence. You can't fake that. It must be forged. And you forge it through daily practice, through repeating your belief when the evidence isn't there. Every morning, speak your vision. Every evening, reflect on your actions. Every hour, refuse to betray the man you've decided to become. Watch what happens. Fear doesn't vanish, but your faith gets louder. Doubt doesn't disappear, but your decisions overpower it. Eventually, your belief becomes undeniable. And so do you. This is not mysticism. This is not fantasy. This is the reality of how every empire starts, with an invisible vision believed in so deeply, repeated so often, acted on so boldly that the world has no choice but to see it, too. Choose your belief now. Choose what you'll repeat, because you are always programming your mind. The only question is, with what? Let your faith be your foundation, and let your actions prove it. The habit of doing more than you're paid for, that is the secret of every fortune. This is the law of compensation. You don't get paid for time. You get paid for value. And value is determined by how far you're willing to go beyond what's expected. The average man works for his paycheck. The exceptional man works for his potential. He doesn't wait for rewards. He becomes so valuable, so effective, so consistent, that rewards are inevitable. This law cannot be faked. Charles Schwab didn't rise to the top because of education. He rose because he gave more than was asked. He became irreplaceable. Andrew Carnegie built his empire by working longer, taking on more responsibility, and volunteering for greater challenges, not for recognition, but for growth. And that growth positioned him for opportunity. You don't get promoted by asking for it. You get promoted by becoming too valuable to ignore. Understand this, the marketplace doesn't pay for intentions. It pays for results. And those results come from consistently going above and beyond. That's where you must live, in the extra mile, the unseen hour, the quiet improvement. Here's the truth no one talks about, the extra mile is the emptiest one, and that's where all the power lies. Everyone wants to get ahead, but few are willing to give more than they're asked. Few wake up early without being told. Few deliver excellence when mediocrity is accepted. Few take ownership for mistakes that weren't even theirs. But the few who do, they rise. Thomas Edison didn't stop when the world said, enough. He worked tirelessly, not to clock hours, but to create value. Over 1,000 patents, invention after invention, why? Because he focused not on immediate rewards, but on creating output. And the reward followed. This is why you must detach from the idea of immediate return. If you only act when rewarded, you will always be enslaved by permission. But if you act from principle, from the law itself, you become independent of circumstances. You act not for applause, but because you are the kind of person who does more than what's required. And over time, the world catches up. Henry Ford didn't invent the car. He revolutionized the process. He built something better, faster, and more accessible. He didn't stop at good enough. He pushed boundaries. He over-delivered. And because of that, the market followed him. Success isn't reserved for the lucky. It's earned by those who outserve, out-improve, and outlast. This is what you must install, not just in business, but in your home, in your discipline, in your mission. When you do more than expected, you become more than expected. You grow. You gain self-respect. You earn influence. And most importantly, you rise above the competition without having to destroy anyone else. So here's your challenge, where can you over-deliver today? What extra detail can you improve? What skill can you sharpen without being asked? What task can you complete better than expected? And once you have the answer, do it. Not once, but every day, until excellence becomes your habit and your name becomes associated with certainty. Because that's the highest currency, certainty of execution. The man who always delivers, even when no one's watching, becomes the man who is always called upon when it matters. So if you want to advance, if you want to rise, if you want to build a reputation that makes opportunity chase you instead of you chasing it, stop asking for more and start giving more, quietly, relentlessly, with no need for credit. Because credit will come. Compensation will come. Recognition will come. But only if you build yourself into the kind of person who doesn't need it. Say this aloud, I do more than what I'm paid to do. I am not average. I move with excellence, even when no one is watching. Repeat this, and live by it, and you will never lack opportunity again. The law is simple: he who gives more becomes more. And he who becomes more will always have more. You may have strength. You may have intelligence. You may have the most brilliant plan in the world, but if your presence repels others, if your energy repels trust, if your manner of speech pushes people away instead of drawing them near, then your power will never reach its full potential. Because the truth is this: no man rises alone. And the one who knows how to influence others with warmth, confidence, and clarity will always move faster and farther than the one who tries to force everything by brute strength. This is the essence of a pleasing personality, not manipulation, not charm, but a cultivated energy that draws others in without begging for attention. It is the invisible quality behind the most successful people in history. It opens doors, earns loyalty, and multiplies influence. Let me tell you plainly, a pleasing personality is not a gift. It's a discipline. It's a product of self-awareness, emotional control, and intentional practice. Andrew Carnegie built one of the greatest fortunes in history, not because he was the loudest, but because he knew how to make others feel seen. He listened more than he spoke. He praised more than he criticized. He mastered the art of influence, not through domination, but through presence. And that presence made others want to work with him. It drew power toward him. Charles M. Schwab was famous for this. Though he wasn't the technical genius, he became president of U.S. Steel because of how he made people feel. He smiled often. He remembered names. He made others feel important. And through that, he got the best out of his team without ever raising his voice. Power isn't just force. Power is the ability to move others willingly. You need to understand this: a pleasing personality isn't about being fake or soft. It's about becoming someone whose presence says, "This man is trustworthy. This man is worth following." That doesn't mean performing. It means mastering the quiet disciplines that make you magnetic. Tone of voice: speak with conviction, not hesitation. Facial expression: a calm, confident presence speaks before you say a word. Genuine interest: people remember how you made them feel. Ask real questions and listen deeply. Optimism: a pleasing personality doesn't dwell in negativity. It uplifts. It radiates certainty. The world is full of loud, bitter men trying to prove themselves. But the man with a pleasing personality doesn't argue. He doesn't shout. He doesn't over-explain. He influences. He persuades. He builds bridges where others burn them. Look at Thomas Edison. He worked with brilliant teams. Though driven, he knew the value of collaboration and creating an environment that made others want to contribute. His laboratories weren't just places of invention, they were charged with positive expectancy. That's what a pleasing personality creates: movement without resistance. Now, let's make it practical. If you want to be powerful, you must be likable, not because you seek approval, but because you understand this truth: people move faster for men they admire. When you speak with respect, others give you respect. When you walk with presence, others feel it before you speak. When you remove the need to prove yourself, you gain the ability to persuade. And persuasion moves mountains. This is the key to influence and power. So, today, start with one small action: over-deliver, be present, be magnetic, and watch how your world begins to change. Ask yourself, do people feel stronger after speaking with me? Do I make others feel valued, not by flattery, but by genuine attention? Do I carry myself with calm authority or chaotic energy? Because here's the truth: the most powerful person in the room isn't the one who talks the most, but the one others listen to when they finally speak. Abraham Lincoln is remembered as one of the greatest presidents, not because he dominated others, but because he combined firmness with humility. He communicated with clarity, simplicity, and presence. Even in the darkest times, he radiated a pleasing personality that gave people confidence. Henry Ford, for all his brilliance, knew the importance of harmony. He didn't surround himself with yes-men, but he valued those who could communicate ideas with calm strength. He wasn't polished in speech, but he was consistent in his presence, and consistency builds trust. That's the essence of a pleasing personality. You don't chase attention. You command it through character. Here's your challenge: speak less, and when you do, speak with intention. Smile more, not as a mask, but as a message: I am in control of my energy. Move slowly. Speak clearly. Make others feel seen. And most importantly, live in such a way that your presence inspires others to be better. That's the highest form of influence, the person who uplifts everyone around them without effort, simply by being who they are. Repeat this daily: my presence is calm, powerful, and persuasive. I make others feel seen, heard, and understood. I do not argue. I influence. And over time, that energy becomes magnetic. The world will start leaning toward you, not because you shouted, but because you built yourself into a man worth following. There is a law so powerful, so consistent, that those who live by it rise, and those who violate it remain stagnant. It's not written in stone, not taught in schools, and rarely discussed in success conversations. Yet every successful man I've known obeyed this law like scripture. It's the law of increasing returns. The man who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid for more than he does. Let that sink in, because it's not a motivational phrase, it's a universal truth. The average man says, "I'll give more when I get more." But the builder, the man who commands his life, says, "I'll give more now and let the rewards find me later." And they always do. Look at Andrew Carnegie. He started as a poor boy in a telegraph office. He wasn't asked to learn Morse code or memorize rail routes, but he did. He went beyond the bare minimum. And what happened? The people in power noticed, slowly, but inevitably. From that small post, he rose to become one of the richest men in the world. How? He gave value first, without asking for anything in return. The man who goes the extra mile makes himself irreplaceable. While others perform their duty, he delivers results. While others ask, "What am I owed?" he asks, "What else can I give?" You must understand, life doesn't pay you based on time. It pays you based on value. Your time means nothing if it produces little. But your effort, your initiative, your refusal to cut corners or wait for rewards, that's what makes you unstoppable. Thomas Edison knew this well. His work ethic was legendary: thousands of failed experiments, sleepless nights, years of obsessive effort. He didn't demand guarantees. He gave everything first, and only after the results came did the world reward him. Now let me ask you, are you doing the minimum? Are you only rising when someone's watching? Are you only moving when it's convenient? The universe keeps score, not of your hours, but of your initiative. The world may not reward you immediately, but it will eventually, and far beyond what you expect, if you make going the extra mile a habit. Start where you are. If you have a job, stop asking what your role is. Ask what your standard is. If you're building a business, stop asking what clients will pay for. Ask what will blow them away. If you're building a skill, don't just check the box. Stay longer. Push deeper. Stretch further. Because every time you exceed expectations, every time you go beyond enough, you separate yourself from the pack. You become unforgettable. You become trusted. You become indispensable. Let me remind you, Charles M. Schwab wasn't promoted for doing his job. He was promoted because he multiplied value. He encouraged others, pushed teams, and always asked, "What else can be done?" He went above and beyond, not for attention, but because it was who he was. That's who you must become, the man who gives more than asked, more than expected, more than required. And the key is to do it when no one sees it, when no one claps, when no one notices. Do it until it's your identity, because that identity becomes a magnet for opportunity. Henry Ford built an empire not just because of what he knew, but because he demanded more from himself and others. Faster production. Smarter engineering. Better value for the customer. He always asked, how can we give more? And as a result, he received more than anyone in his field. But remember, it all started small. Every great leap begins with invisible effort. So start today. Ask yourself, where am I meeting the minimum? Where can I exceed the standard? Where can I act like an owner, not just an employee? And once you find that answer, live it. You'll feel resistance. Others will mock you. They'll say you're working too hard, caring too much, doing too much for nothing. But the rewards of going the extra mile are never immediate. They're delayed, but they always come, in the form of respect, trust, opportunity, leadership, and eventually wealth. Say this daily, I do not ask what I'm owed. I ask what I can give. I exceed expectations as a way of life. I am the man who goes the extra mile because that's where greatness begins. Let those words take root because the man who lives by them never stays at the bottom for long. Let me tell you something, you already know this, but you may not have accepted it. Watching this once won't change everything. You can't rewire your system in a single sitting. You can't erase a decade of fear with one motivational speech. You can't change your programming with inspiration alone. Because your subconscious doesn't respond to one-time information. It responds to repetition. To imprint a new belief, you must reinforce it daily until it becomes stronger than your doubts. Let this truth echo, repetition is the language of the subconscious, and the strongest loop always wins. If your old loop is, I'm not good enough, it will dominate until a stronger one replaces it. If hesitation is your dominant signal, that becomes your identity. But if you feed your mind with power, certainty, and belief, the old voice fades, not by force, but by frequency. This is why autosuggestion isn't optional. It's the tool by which you reprogram your mind. And how does it work? You play this again. Speak the words aloud, not casually, but with energy. Memorize the phrases that struck you. Repeat them when resistance rises. Let this message become your mental software. You don't just listen for entertainment. You listen to install identity. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am not afraid. I act without hesitation. I am focused. I am certain. I am becoming who I was meant to be. Feel what happens in your body when you say those words. That shift you feel? It's not imagination. It's neural reinforcement. Your identity is updating in real time. Now, multiply that by 90 days. Say it once, it's a spark. Say it every morning for 90 days, it's a circuit. And you speak it until it becomes your baseline. Until the words don't just sound strong, they are your voice. Because here's the law, what you feed forms you. What you repeat becomes you. So, don't let this message fade. Treat it like a ritual. Build your day around it. Make it part of your environment. If someone asks why you keep repeating the same message, tell them, because I'm not here to be entertained. I'm here to be rebuilt. Your mind is programmable. Always has been. The only question is, who's writing the code? From this moment forward, you're in control. So play this again. Speak with fire. Walk into your day with certainty because every time you repeat power, you weaken fear. Now, let's close this chapter. The most powerful thing you can do now is take action. You've listened. You've absorbed truth after truth. But now comes the crucial part, you move not as the man who started this video, but as the man who has already become what he used to chase. You don't move like you're trying. You move like it's done. That's the posture of a man with power, not because he knows everything, but because he knows himself. From this moment forward, you move differently. You walk into the gym like the transformation already happened. You step into your work like the breakthrough already came. You make decisions like success is already unfolding behind the scenes because guess what? It is. Faith is not passive. Faith moves. Faith builds. Faith walks like the outcome is certain. And that's not delusion. That's identity. That's alignment. So before you step back into the world, I want you to say this out loud: I am not afraid. I act without hesitation. Everything is working in my favor, and I move like it. Say it again, slower, and mean it. I am not afraid. I act without hesitation. Everything is working in my favor, and I move like it. That is your identity script now. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't need anyone to understand the fire in your chest. You just need to keep going because the world rewards the man who moves with certainty. You are not waiting for permission. You are the breakthrough. You are the green light. Every action you take from this moment on reflects that. Move like the man who already has what he came for. Speak like someone whose voice creates results. Wake up tomorrow knowing momentum is waiting for you, because it is. Let them wonder what changed. Let them feel the shift when you walk into a room. Let them feel the silence in your presence, not from not knowing, but from knowing too much to waste words. You've done the work. Now walk out, act, and live like the man you've become.